Hari Om. Hope and pray all of you are doing well. In this series, I am practically looking into the Sadhana Chatushtaya as laid out by Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji and leaning on heavily to Pujya Gurudev's translations of these essential qualities. We have seen up until Titiksha, a very important facet of a seeker's life, wherein we have the ability to face that which unfolds as our experience without reacting to it or without rejecting it, which is the knee-jerk effect that most of us have. To come to terms, meaning to understand the Karma Yoga Siddhanta in its application and to accept as life is unfolding. Here, acceptance doesn't mean that I am reactive in nature, subjecting myself to complete suppressive lifestyle wherein I am a doormat. No, even in order to find active, viable solutions, I have to first accept the situation, just like a doctor who has to accept the existing condition of the patient so as to deliver the best medicative process for the patient. Similarly, I have to accept first and then try finding solutions. Now, once that acceptance is there, 90% of our agitative patterns of life, they come to rest. 90% of our pressured existence comes to rest. Then there is the active participation of running into the world with solutions as solutions. That ensures that the external pressures are taken care, so that when I apply myself into the field of spiritual unfoldment, my mind space is available for the teaching, for the guidance, for the pointers to be well understood. Even in mundane world, when somebody gives us a direction, in spite of clearly stating and pointing at, we find ourselves also that we sometimes do contrary to what has been guided. Immediate guidance, it's as though trampled, that we go into that space wherein our lack of focus, lack of attention, we don't pay attention to the pointers given. So once that space is created, then comes next beautiful, I cannot translate it into English. There is no one word simile that it can be translated into. I thought it was just my inability to translate this particular word or quality into English, but I have seen many masters fail to translate it in English. Then I thought, okay, I am also in line. That it is not my inability, it's just the gravity or the depth of that word. There is no equivalent for it in English. And that quality is Shraddha. So, Adi Shankaracharya ji calls Shraddha as Shastrasya Guru Vakyasya Satya Buddhyavadharana. The translation of it is as following. A healthy attempt at a clear intellectual appreciation of the secret depths of the significance underlying the words of the scriptures and the teacher is called Shraddha. Before I going to dwell into the explanation of this particular word, this particular quality, let me first put the necessary mental makeup that is required even before we are worthy of the scriptural statements and the pointers given to us by Guru Maharaj. In our Sanatana way of life, in our Vedic parampara, I can be absolutely sure that there is no room for, no possibility of any dogma to exist. It is stated so, you better do it. That is not how we think, that is not how we entertain thinking in Hinduism. Before we approach the scriptures through the Guru Maharaj, there has to be a rapport that has to be created with that teacher specific. To come to trust, to come to believe, to have faith in that teacher. It's not possible unless and until I open up to that teacher and have a direct conversation about all the confusions that I have, and without any veil, without any effort to hide, I open up and shamelessly ask all the questions and allow that situation wherein the communication yields a better sense of clarity logically. See, if there is a jigsaw puzzle, life is a jigsaw puzzle until we see it through the right perspective. And in order to see it through that right perspective, all those variables where I cannot directly put my hand on, my understanding is not very clear, then I approach the sensibility of the teacher, Guru Maharaj, and courageously ask those questions. And when the teacher finds that sincere student, they are not mocked, they are not ridiculed, they are not chided away, but they are welcomed. That there is this courageous fellow who is trying to ask, born out of sincerity. Let all those answers settle in. You will find, you need to find, if the answers or the pointers given are logical in approach. Like when I had the opportunity to meet Pujya Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda, I used to ask questions, random questions, but that which were pertinent to me, and very lovingly he encouraged. I would say about 80-85% of his answers were very logical, no, not that the other 15% were not logical. What I concluded was I was not mature enough to understand the gravity or the depth of those words. It's only later when I was introduced to the scriptures that the depth slowly revealed. So those 85%, 80-85% of the answers that were given, they were all mostly pertaining to my mundane way of living and understanding. But my jigsaw puzzle of life kind of sorted out. I could have a zoomed out view of it and a zoomed in view of it, and the clarity was pristine. There is a sense of confidence born. कि भाई इन पे विश्वास किया जा सकता है. That I can start trusting this person because of the validity in which the straightforwardness of the answers logically match up at different layers, and they give immense sense of clarity, and that sense of clarity builds courage, confidence, both in myself as well as in the words of that teacher. Then I approach in trying to understand the words of the scriptures. Here I would like to use two words. I'd like to define it so that we both are on the same page, and dwell upon it after the definition of those two words. First one is a doubt, and the second one is a question. Growing up in India with English vocabulary, I almost grew up assuming that both these words are synonyms. That a doubt and a question mean the same. Because in a school environment growing up, the teachers often said, any questions or doubts? I assumed both of them were synonyms. Once I was in a university talking on a very subtle topic on meditation and medication. It was in Southern Methodist Medical University in Dallas. And there, after finishing my discourse, I asked any doubts. There were already 2-3 people raising their hands. One of the girls that stood up to ask, she said very emphatically that I have a question, not necessarily a doubt. That raised it out in my head. I thought, oh, is there a difference? So I went back into a couple of dictionaries, tried to find. That is when it clicked that a question is something that I agree with most of it, what you are saying, but there are certain pockets of the elements that you have introduced which I do not have a distinct clarity upon. Hence, therefore, the clarification asked becomes a question. Whereas a doubt is something wherein I do not necessarily agree with you, I do not, I'm not on the same page with you, therefore I doubt the very proposition of what you are presenting. Most of us, when we ask questions, we as a student lack a sense of clarity and depth. I'll take an example. It's quite often we come across, I at least come across people asking questions about the validity of Bhagwan Krishna or validity of Bhagwan Rama and what they had done or spoken. I used to become very aggravated and butt heads. It's only later that the wisdom dawned upon me that most of the questions are being raised by those who are raising it as a hearsay. hearsay not because they have put an effort to try understanding it. They don't even own that question. They have heard it from somewhere. They just are further extensions of that confusion. There is no sincerity of research done. So most of us come from that background wherein we have not put that sincere effort to do our bit of research, even to come to a point that I can own this question, that this is my question, not hearsay. They say, now if for everybody's confusion, how is the scripture or the teacher responsible to clear it out? Where is the sincerity of the student? So when the student comes with a healthy attempt with the intellectual queries to understand the scripture and its applications, the significances of it at different layers as to what do they imply. And just because the scriptures have stated it and the teacher is pointing at it, Guru Maharaj is pointing at it, it is not an enforcement that we come to terms with it. We are asked, we are guided to think through and question, how is it really possible? Is it not possible? Is it applicable? Is it not applicable? I attempt at it, I try. And then when I find those pockets of clarification, I go ask, clarify and deepen my understanding and experience. So the mental room, the inner room that I require, a healthy room wherein I have every right and authority to question and about its application and its utility, but not born out of ashraddha, not born out of a doubt, but born out of a certain amount of faith. Now, there are people that say they are not very, they don't cut the same space or room for spirituality as we give for science. I'll explain it with an example. Many of us look into the field of science wherein we say atom is the building block of this universe. The textbooks say it, the teachers teach it, we readily accept it and move on. Most of the teachers, most of the taught have not seen an atom. But if you have not experienced it, how are you taking that word to be true? I mean, I have gone around asking how many of you have seen. Maybe in all the times that I have asked, there have been 2 or 3 times that I have come across somebody who has actually seen in a microscope the molecule and the atomic structure because they work in that particular field. But the rest of us, don't we take it by the word so that we can build an edifice in the field of science? Similarly, in the field of Shastra, Guru, spirituality, I need to have that amount of trust in the scriptures as well as in the teacher so that I can open up that space of possibility to structure my growth pattern into this field of spirituality until I reach there. If this Shraddha is weakened, it becomes impossible to move forward. Even in Vyavahara, without Shraddha, it becomes absolutely impossible to put another step. How many times has it happened that we have tripped and fallen? What is the confidence that you take the next step and start walking again? There is a high possibility that you could slip again, you could trip again, you could fall again, you could break your bones, but still, there is that confidence, there is that Shraddha in my own ability. Imagine if we start doubting everything, doubting parents, doubting friends, doubting spouses, doubting every environment that I'm living in. Moving forward, doing anything positive, constructive, useful, meaningful becomes an impossibility. Yo yat shraddha sayeva saha. As much as the depth of that shraddha, that much we can surge ahead. To give that sense of validity, because I have evaluated enough, now I have come to understand. It's not coming to terms, but coming to understanding that yes, what the scriptures are pointing, what the Guru is pointing, is meaningful, is fruitful, is going to be helpful, that I can start attempting at it. Satya Buddhyavadharana. That is called Shraddha. And therefore that word cannot be translated into English. Now once this quality is there, see, we go to the temple, we go to Bhagwan, ask for several things. If at all we have to ask of something, my way to look at it would be to ask for that Shraddha in scriptures and Guru. Hey Bhagwan, give me that courage to have this Shraddha in Guru and the scriptures, so that I can carve my path to the highest. Yamai Vesha Vrunute Tena Labhyaha. The one who chooses this alone can reach there. So let us make that healthy attempt, and may Bhagwan bless us to make that attempt fruitful. Until the next time, have a great time. Hari Om. See you around.